get fed up with the amount of work that tending to a lawn requires? Well, I've got good news for you. The month of May is all about doing absolutely nothing to your lawn. Kick back, relax, and let your garden do what it wants. But why should you do nothing?
It might surprise you to learn that lawns were not always the norm. In fact, they were once considered a pretentious display by the ultra-wealthy.
Lawns find their origins in medieval castle grounds, where trees would be cut and grasslands exposed, letting guards spot any oncoming invaders. In the 16th and 17th centuries, wealthy landowners were starting to deliberately cultivate short grass lawns. But lawn mowing technology hadn't actually been invented yet, so they would pay lots of people to go through the grass by hand and scythe it to cut it down and pick through the weeds. Grass is an important source of food for livestock. You can imagine how offensive it was to the common man that someone was getting rid of this grass deliberately. It was the ultimate status of, I'm so rich, I don't need this grass to feed myself, and what's more, I can even pay people to get rid of it for me. In the 19th century, as communal public land became less common, people began to view lawns as something to aspire to. Having a lawn was a way for less wealthy people to show off like the rich. With more people looking to display lawns, it was only natural that technology in lawn mowing started to catch up, and mowers were replacing hand scythes. The new status symbol was the ownership of a lawn mowing machine, which only further drove technological developments of lawn mowers, and these only further drove the popularity of lawns themselves.
Regardless of the fact of why lawns are so popular now, the fact remains that many people have them and feel the need to keep them tidy and neat. But why is that so bad?
The UK's natural grasslands and wildflower meadows support a huge variety of wildflowers that get suppressed when lawns are frequently cut. Suppressing wildflowers makes life difficult for the species that rely on them for food, shelter and reproduction. There are at least 1,500 species of pollinating insect in the UK, so when left to its own devices, our landscape should be able to support a range of bumblebees, solitary bees, hoverflies, wasps, flies, beetles, butterflies and moths. As well as their intrinsic value, these species are really important to us because they pollinate our crops. By suppressing gardens and having lawns instead of native wildflowers, we're suppressing native pollinators, which is basically just following that ancient tradition of deliberately making our land able to produce less food. Not only that, but we're also impacting wildlife further up the food chain. Diverse grasslands support insect-eating species like shrews, bats, hedgehogs and voles, to name a few. Then the animals that rely on eating those species, like foxes, pine martens and badgers, are also impacted. Keeping a neat and tidy lawn doesn't just remove the productivity from that immediate patch of land, but it also suppresses all of the native species that rely on the plants that are no longer growing there. In fact, this is so bad that in the last 100 years, we've lost 97% of our wildflower meadows, and we've also made it so that over the last 40 years, every single patch of square kilometre in the UK has lost an average of 11 species of bees and hoverflies. To combat this problem and welcome nature back into our urban spaces, the charity Plantlife created the No Mow May campaign. Most gardeners mow their lawns every 2 weeks, but No Mow May asks you to stop mowing your garden for the whole month of May. Give this video a like if you're going to be taking part.
The soil below your grass probably contains a whole host of plant species that you've never seen thanks to frequent mowing.
By not mowing your lawn for a whole month, you give flowers like daisies and white clover the chance to flower in full. It was found that waiting 4 weeks between mowing actually increased the nectar productivity of that patch of lawn by 10 times the amount that it was previously. This is a great piece of news, not only for the species of plant that are growing there to keep on surviving, but also for all of the animal species that rely on those plants. On top of that, by waiting even longer, you can encourage an even higher diversity of flowering plant species, giving the species that require a bit more time to bloom the ability to grow up and flower. The great thing about managing your garden with wildlife in mind is that you don't have to do everything perfectly. Different species thrive in different habitats, so if you did want to keep one area of your lawn short, that's perfectly acceptable as a wildlife gardener. A short patch of grass where you can sunbathe or barbecue will greatly benefit birds like the green woodpecker, on the lookout for any ants that they can hoover up with their long tongue. A longer area set aside for No Mow May will help flowers like daisies and bird's foot trefoil to bloom, as well as providing safe passages for small animals like lizards and newts. Even longer areas that are never mown let species like hedgehogs take safe refuge during winter hibernation, or harvest mice raise their young. At the end of the month, you can join in on the Every Flower Counts survey that Plantlife runs. This survey is all about counting the amount of wildflowers that are in your lawn, and then you'll be able to learn how many pollinators your lawn is actually capable of supporting.
During past surveys, there were more than 200 plant species found growing on lawns, and over 500,000 flowers were counted.
In combination, all the lawns that were surveyed produced enough nectar to support 2.1 million bees. 20% of these individual lawns were capable of supporting 4,000 bees a day. If you want to learn even more about wildlife-friendly gardening, including how to grow your own wildflower meadow, then make sure to check out my wildlife-friendly gardening guides, which I've linked to in the description below. If you want to support me in continuing to create these free educational videos, then check out my new Patreon page. I have 5 different monthly support tiers to choose from, ranging from just £2 up to the higher tiers where you can vote for video topics, have your name credited at the end of each video, receive personalised art of any UK species, and get one-on-one consultation calls with me on any nature-related topic of your choice. Subscribe to Ferroforest to keep learning about UK nature.